Russian agency says Ukraine plotted terrorist attack in Moscow.
Prime Minister addresses business concerns to accelerate private sector growth.
But it was foiled. Nghệ An farmers rushed to harvest spring rice.
Hello everyone, you are watching today's news on NTV channel. My name is Đăng. Let's get started. The Russian Investigative Committee said on Friday it stopped a terrorist attack in Moscow and seized explosives that were meant to be used in a crowded area.
Russian officials said they uncovered the terror attack plan when they searched the home of a local man who was already under investigation for publicly justifying acts of terrorism. The Moscow office of the Investigative Committee is investigating a criminal case against a local resident accused of public justification of terrorism. The man's cell phone was seized during a search at his home. When inspecting the phone, investigators found correspondence with a handler from a Ukrainian special service, which directed the man to get a cache in a woodland park in western Moscow. Officials believe the suspect, who has been charged with preparing a terrorist attack and is in custody, plotted to detonate it in a crowded public area intended to detonate the bomb in a crowded public place. Ukraine has not yet commented on the information provided by the Russian Investigative Committee.
President Donald Trump said on Friday that he planned to double tariffs on steel imports to 50% to protect the U.S. steel industry.
Speaking at a steel mill in Pennsylvania, Trump said the new tariffs will take effect from June 4th. He also affirmed that this is a step to protect the domestic steel industry and American workers. The U.S. president affirmed that the U.S. steel and aluminum industries will recover strongly, create more jobs and reduce dependence on foreign supplies. Previously, on March 12, Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on all imported steel and aluminum products and faced strong reactions from many countries, especially Canada and the European Union. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, last year the U.S. imported more than $31 billion in steel and aluminum, of which Canada alone imported $7.6 billion.
On May 31st, Prime Minister Vinh held a dialogue with business representatives to discuss implementing Politburo Resolution 68 on developing the private economy.
In his opening speech, the Prime Minister clearly stated that the biggest issue now is to effectively implement the resolutions, in the spirit of thinking deeply, acting boldly, with the most efficient approaches, to best mobilize the capacity of nearly 1 million enterprises and 5 million business households. If each individual and household make a contribution, then the whole society will have great resources to change the status quo and turn the situation around, enabling rapid and sustainable national development. The Prime Minister urged a clear identification of the responsibilities of the state, local authorities, enterprises, and citizens in implementing the resolutions from the Politburo, National Assembly, and government on private sector development. He also called for unity and solidarity to take real, decisive action instead of making excuses or debating whether to proceed.
Coming up next are some updated news.
At the meeting to discuss some contents under their authority, the Standing Committee of Nghệ An Provincial Party Committee listened to and gave their opinions on the project to adjust the general planning of Hoang Mai Town to 2045. Accordingly, the project focuses on three main factors: orientation from the approved provincial planning, including some orientation contents on industrial development, infrastructure development connecting regions that need to be included in the town's general planning for planning management. According to the Prime Minister's decision to approve the adjustment of the Southeast Economic Zone, Hoang Mai has 3 industrial parks in the area including Dong Hoi, Hoang Mai 1, Hoang Mai 2 with expansion, so they also need to be included in the town's general planning to implement the next steps.
Lychees have officially entered the 2025 harvest season with a forecasted output increase of up to 30% compared to last year. This specialty product with high export value is always under pressure from consumption due to its short season and fast harvest time. This year, the earliest ripening lychee growing region in the country, Haiduang lychees, is ready for export shipments to demanding markets right from the beginning of the season. Specifically, to the markets of France, the US and Japan, with a total output of about 15 tons of the first order. Haiduang's lychee output this year is estimated at 65,000 tons, of which about 70% is for export.
In recent days, 3 mountainous districts of Nghệ An, including Khe Phong, Khe Sun and Tuong Duong, have suffered heavy damage due to widespread landslides and flash floods, affecting houses, crops, roads, and there have been fatalities. In Tuong Duong district, since the night of May 29, flash floods have occurred in the 3 communes of Nan Mai, Hu Quang and Mai Sun, causing heavy damage to people's property, rice and crops. In Ky Sun district, heavy rain and rising floodwaters throughout the night of May 29 broke a concrete bridge and damaged 19 houses. Currently, local authorities in Khe Phong, Khe Sun and Tuong Duong districts are mobilizing local forces to overcome the consequences of the floods.
Farmers in many parts of Nghệ An province are currently busy harvesting the spring rice crop. This year's crop faced unpredictable weather, but areas that closely followed the agriculture calendar provided by the local authorities saw a successful harvest.
This year's spring crop in many districts such as Hung Nguyen, Nam Dan, Tan Chuang, Du Luong, spring rice, which was planted according to the agricultural calendar, have had high yields. Not only did it achieve high yields, but this year's spring rice also had fewer pests and diseases, so investment costs were lower than last year.
This year's crop is better than previous years because we planted on schedule.
This year's spring crop, farmers sowed nearly 91,000 hectares in the whole province, and up to this point, 68,000 hectares have been harvested, reaching 75% of the area, according to initial assessments by localities. This year, in addition to the rice areas that were planted in the wrong agricultural calendar and were infected with pests and diseases and lost, most of the rice areas that were planted in the right agricultural calendar and well cared for achieved relatively high yields.
To get high yield in spring crop, farmers must follow the crop calendar and variety structure suitable for each land area. Especially, farmers must not to buy seeds that are not included in the structure.
Agricultural production is almost entirely dependent on nature, so success or failure relies heavily on weather factors. Therefore, strictly adhering to the agricultural calendar and the correct crop structure will help avoid natural disasters and lead to a successful harvest. This has been a valuable lesson learned in agricultural production over many years.
This is the end of the show today. Thank you for watching.